Okay, I really want to try to reenact my initial reaction to the end of Doctor Who Season 2. Went something like this. What? What? Okay. Honestly, even still, I took time to think about my feelings and my thoughts, and I still don't really know how to feel, but I think if I had to sum it up into one word, at the end of Season 2, I'm left with the feeling of bittersweet. Hello everyone, welcome back. We are gonna talk about Doctor Who Season 2 and why I feel it is so bittersweet. It really is a season that has had some of the greatest highs and some of the most disappointing choices, let's say, that I've experienced in all of my time watching Doctor Who, which is a lot. We're gonna start with the things that I really loved about this season and kind of the heights, and then we're gonna talk about some of the lows, some of the weaker points in the season, and my thoughts on the ending, because that is a whole thing. But don't worry, I'm gonna save the ending for last, so we'll talk more about that there. We'll save it for the end of the video, and then I'll give you guys my rating. So to start off, let's talk about the highlights of this season. It started off and I kind of felt this season was just all right, and then Lux happened, and the episode Lux with Mr. Ring-a-Ding, it blew my mind. I already was feeling pretty good about how we were starting, but I was like, this is like all right. It feels good, but I don't know how good it'll be. Season 1 was just like, it had great moments, but also at the end of the day, it kind of just ended up being like just good for me, like just good enough. So when we got to Lux and I heard that this episode was a banger, I wasn't sure how much of a banger it would be. And let me tell you, it was enough of a banger, I had to make a video about it. It was so amazing. It blew my mind. I think Lux is one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who of all time. Never mind just in this season, never mind just in this era, all time. Top 5, I think. That's how much I loved that episode. The relationship that we start to establish with Belinda and the Doctor in that episode, which already has kind of been cooking in a fun way. I think that Belinda is such an interesting character here because she's kind of so random, and yet I really loved her relationship with the Doctor and the kind of unique approach to the character of someone that really just wants to get home. She's like, look, I guess we'll gotta go on some adventures, but I just want to get back home. That's my end goal. I don't know about any of this other stuff you got going on. And then through her time with the Doctor, just kind of like falls in love with the idea of everything that the Doctor represents. Seeing all of that and seeing that growth of the two of them together and just Belinda even as a character was so fun. The return of Jodie was another highlight for me, which happens obviously near the end of season 2. I loved Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. I feel that she was a little bit robbed actually, because I do feel like the writing, having gone through all of the Chibnall stuff, the Chris Chibnall stuff, was not as strong when Jodie was the Doctor, but I think her as the Doctor is amazing. So getting to see her come back here and just paying a little bit of homage to her legacy and her time as the Doctor was really sweet. And getting to see her and Ncuti interact with both of them as the Doctor, it was just so awesome because I love Ncuti so much and I love Jodie. And yeah, just watching them on screen together was so fun as they explore more about like who the character is together and for them. It's always fun when Doctors come together and get to interact with each other. We also have the return of Anita. Getting to see Anita come back and getting to see just her and the Doctor's relationship acknowledged in some way, and to see like how she's progressed working at the Time Hotel and all of that fun stuff. That was so cool, and I hope we get to see more of Anita even in season 3. I hope that even though with what's coming next, I just hope that she's a character that gets to keep reappearing because I want to follow along in her journey. It's unfortunate because I feel like Joy to the World being a bit of a red herring episode, Christmas special, not being about Joy, being about Anita, I kind of liked the weird misdirection of that. I thought it was really fun. I mean, it's really a lot about Anita and the Doctor and their relationship and the Doctor's relationship with himself. And yeah, so getting to see a callback to all of that was just really great. And then, when it comes to season 2 and where I began to fall in love with it. I talked about Lux. After Lux was The Well, and I think the director for both of those episodes is the same. It was Amanda McKnight that directed both Lux and The Well, and so I'm hoping in season 3 we get some more stuff from Amanda McKnight, because I just feel like the direction in both those episodes was phenomenal. And I also like the story in both of them too, so that was also great. And then when it comes to Doctor Who season 2, we're not just fixed on the Doctor and his adventures and what's going on with that. We also have some cool kind of world building through side characters here, like Ruby returns, which I liked, and we got that whole episode with her and Conrad. And I gotta say, I really love Conrad Clark as a villain. I think it was really clever what they did with him, and that episode just blew my mind. I was like, I do not know where this is going until I was there. And then I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that turn. I was not expecting Conrad to become the villain of that episode. I was a little bit confused why we're even having that intensive of a Ruby episode, but I figured the Doctor must come in, and then the Doctor did come in the end. I loved all of it. I thought that was really fun, and I liked that they brought Conrad back at the end as well. I thought that was cool. I don't know if we're gonna see more of Conrad again after this season, but I hope we see something. I mean, I feel like we fixed that problem, but he was a cool villain, and maybe he'll come back at some point. Speaking of cool villains, we also saw the return of the Rani, which was really great. And some things happened with that I loved, and some things happened with that I didn't like. But I did like that the Rani was here, and I like both the actresses that were playing her. I think they both did a great job. I love the idea of there being 2 of them, even though maybe we didn't do as much with that as I thought we were going to, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. There was also some really cool just standalone episodes, like the story in the engine. I think the fun thing about this season is that because we didn't have Ruby there, because Belinda's a little bit more, she's there, she's just on her way home, and these are kind of just adventures that are happening along the way while the Doctor tries to figure that out. It felt like each episode, while being part of a bigger story, was very much still a standalone episode. And I think last season we were missing a little bit of that because everything was so tied to Ruby. So I liked the freedom of this season a little bit, and I think it made us have some better stories in terms of individual episodes. Basically, most of this season, a lot of the season for me was like top notch in terms of Doctor Who content. And not just in terms of, what we've seen with Ncuti, like just in terms of what we've seen with Modern Who in general. Some of this was like some of the best. That's why the weaker spots here really kind of hit me in the gut, because the weaker spots kind of undermine a lot of the cool stuff that we built. But I don't think these criticisms are so much that it ruins the entire season. However, it does create some problems for later, namely the ending. I feel like the ending was actually the weakest part of this season so far, so it kind of sucks that we ended it on kind of like a exciting, crazy stuff happening, but just at the end especially, a lackluster kind of moment. And we're gonna talk about that more when I talk about the ending specifically, but yeah, the ending for me was the weakest part. And I'll explain a little bit more why when we get into it more, but just to kind of go off of, without any major spoilers on what's coming up next, I just feel like it felt a bit rushed. It felt a bit hobbled together. I mean, I don't know if it had to do with like some production stuff that was happening behind the scenes, if Ncuti was surprising people, maybe with the decision to, leave as the Doctor, which, I mean, that is, I guess, an ending spoiler, but it's not as spoilery as some of the other stuff we're going to be getting into. But yeah, with him leaving, I don't know if that threw them for a loop and they just kind of had to figure out what to do here near the end. Because I feel like there was a lot of stuff that was being built. Like, I felt like Rogue, I felt like the Rani, a lot of stuff with those characters, it feels like they were kind of cut short in terms of what the initial plans were. Rogue especially. The one thing is with Doctor Who, anyone can come back at any time, and I really do believe that. I really feel like, even considering some of the stuff we got at the end, I think pretty much anyone could come back from this. So we'll see if that's the case down the line, if there are more immediate plans, or if we're gonna have to wait a bit before someone opens up the vault again, but I hope it's not too long of a wait, because you just kind of brought these characters in or back, and now it's like, what are we doing with that? Just nothing? Okay. little disappointing. I also feel like Varada Sethu getting only 1 season is a bit of a waste. I mean, I'm sure she's busy because she's amazingly talented. She's also in Andor, but I mean, I would have loved to see more of her as Belinda in the show. I guess, you know, if we get actors that are this good, I don't know, maybe we should just be grateful that we even got a couple seasons of Ncuti and only 1 season of Varada, but at least we got a season. But her as Belinda, I will say, even though I loved Ruby, I preferred Belinda, which I was surprised about because Ruby actually felt like she had more of a purpose in the show. But I just feel like Belinda's relationship with the doctor and kind of the fact that she didn't really initially want to be there and then she softens up, the evolution of her character made her much more compelling. Even though I like Ruby, so it's not that I don't like Ruby, it's just I preferred Belinda and now she's gone. And the thing that was really disappointing to me, which is also a plus to be honest with you, is that Ncuti is no longer here, and Ncuti in this season, they just really turned it up to 11 for him with his characterization. I feel like with Ncuti Doctor, season 1 was really an introduction, or series, 14 was an introduction to the character. With season 2, series 15, we got to see a little bit more of the layers I think that Ncuti has been planning the entire time to explore as the Doctor. But in seeing the layers, it's like I can see the potential of where we're going, and I know we're never gonna go because it's over now. And it's just like, it's disappointing. You made me fall in love with him and then you took him away from me. And I already really loved him in the last season. It's also really disappointing because, a lot of Ncuti's episodes, there was quite a bit of time where he's just not in it. Which, while I loved what they were doing with his absence in some of those episodes in the previous season and this season, I feel like we missed out on more time we could have had Ncuti on screen because Ncuti was so good. So now I'm just sad that he's gone. And that while we had really great moments with him in season 2, it just makes me want more that I can't have. Hence the bittersweet vibes. So when it comes to the ending, I mean, let's talk about that. Okay, so Billie is here. And while I love Billie Piper, I am not convinced that she is the Doctor. Although, to be fair, I wouldn't actually mind if she was the Doctor. But the fact that we don't get her introduced as the Doctor at the end of this season makes me think what a lot of other people are thinking is that something else is going to be going on. Is she the TARDIS? Is she Bad Wolf? There's theories flying everywhere online about this. And that she will be a bit of a Doctor Who placeholder while the team kind of goes on their search for the next Doctor. Possibly because Ncuti's leaving was a little bit abrupt. I'm not sure. I don't know. I would love to know more. I've looked into it and all I find is very lovely messages from both sides just saying that it was such a lovely time working together. And I don't even think it's necessarily that Ncuti's leaving because he's not happy or anything like that, or that the BBC is moving away from Ncuti. I actually don't think any of that stuff is happening. I think it might just be that something else came up and Ncuti had to go do that thing. He's very talented. So, I understand as well, maybe it could just have to do with like this season, seeing, how tied you can get to a character, not wanting to be too tied. I mean, like, I'm going to do 2 seasons and then you know what? I think I need to move away because I don't want to get too locked in. Because after this season, I really feel like Ncuti would have been pretty locked in if he didn't leave because the season was so good. I feel like we'd want him around for at least a few more seasons. And that's time you could be doing something else. So if you want to do different projects, I could understand. But like I said, this is all just me speculating right now because no one has said anything. We probably won't know for a while what really happened, if anything really did. Or it could just be that, stuff happens and everyone had a great time. I don't necessarily think there's drama. But if there is, we won't find out now anyways. So all we have is speculation. So let me know what you're thinking in the comments or if you've seen anything. But yeah, I'd love to know more about why this happened. I'm just sad. And while I'm excited for Billie coming in, and like I said, I wouldn't even mind if she was the Doctor, I feel like I'm a bit nervous. I think what's ultimately going to happen with Billie, either way, whether she's the Doctor or not, is that we're going to get maybe a small amount of time with Billie, and then someone else will step in. Which with the Doctor makes me a little bit nervous because then it's like faster reincarnations. And I'm just like, now that we have no limit, it feels like we're just kind of blowing through them a little bit. Because I feel like the reincarnation moment should feel big. And so when you do it too much, you kind of cheapen that moment. The other thing I'm a little bit worried about is I'm just worried going back to Billie, do we have a great story that we want to tell with that? how much of that is kind of nostalgia baiting. I'm a little bit nervous just because I know we brought Tennant back and that was really fun. And now we're bringing Billie back and I think that's going to be really fun too. But I'm hoping I'm right that it's going to be really fun and it's not just going to be like the best hits type, like we're just trying to kind of do a weird like new clip show, like give them old stuff repackaged, because even bringing the Rani back, I think that they were doing it for the right reasons, but I'm just worried that it's all just going to be about nostalgia. So hopefully I'm wrong. I'm a little anxious, but I am hopeful because season 2 was really good, and I really did like season 1 as well, but season 2 is just on another level. Season 2 is amazing. Season 1 was like, yeah, it was all right, you know? So this is crazy, and I can't wait to see where we go next, going into series 16, aka season 3, but hopefully it's, you know, it's something fresh still. I like the fresh. Let's keep going with that. Let's not fall into the trap of doing the same things. Overall, Doctor Who season 2 for me, I think is a 4.5 out of 5. I thought about giving it a 4, but I don't think the ending hurts it that much for me. And honestly, I think a lot of my concerns about the ending, a lot of the stuff that I'm really, really worried about is just kind of hanging in the balance with what comes next. We also have the war between the land and sea, so we'll have to see how that does, and then we'll kind of see from there. And the war between the land and sea is not necessarily Russell T Davies, so we're gonna get something fresh, I'm hoping. And I feel like the show is trying to give us stuff that is fresh, but honoring what's come before. I hope that I'm right about that as we head into season 3. Let me know your thoughts on the season 2 of Doctor Who, aka also known as series 15, down in the comments below, and we will discuss. I know a lot of you have been asking me about this personally, and so I hope this answers some more in-depth questions about my thoughts on season 2. I'm very excited for season 3 and nervous, but yeah, I am glad that I did get this sweet merch before Ncuti left, though. Honey, I'm here for fun. I just feel like this incarnation of the Doctor was so cool, and I really wish that we had got to know him a little bit more. But hey, maybe Ncuti will return in the future for a little cameo or something. Could be fun. I'll see you next time, and until then, friends, as always, stay nerdy. Bye! And if you miss me talking Doctor Who, we do that sometimes. Check it out over here.